Welcome to our map of cognitive biases. This website provides you with a typology of cognitive biases in decision making, and it was developed at the University of St. Gallen, Switzerland. This typology allows managers and facilitators of decision-making processes to identify and learn more about potential cognitive biases that may occur in the decision-making process. Well, before we look at the navigation, let's have a look at the logic behind this classification. We have used two main axes to classify 187 cognitive biases recognized in research. Axis number one focuses on the generic decision-making process, the 5 phases of a generic decision-making process, showing the when a specific bias may appear. You have information acquisition biases, option generation biases, evaluation and choice biases, planning and implementation biases, and review and feedback biases. And as you can see, these biases and the categories of these biases are already highlighted when you mouse over the categories. The second axis focuses on the why a specific bias may occur, the cognitive, motivational reasons, the background of a bias. We find simplification biases, which appear when people try to achieve a comprehensible image of the world. We find verification biases when people try to achieve consistency and coherence in their perception of themselves and the world around. And the level of regulation biases when people try to approach pleasure and avoid pain in their decisions. The combination, the 3 levels and the 5 categories, lead to 15 ideal types, which are shown by this picture. 15 ideal types helping you to understand what may flaw your decision-making process and also help to classify the specific biases. By, again, mousing over the picture, you find some details about these 15 ideal types. The name, in this case it's simplified reality, and a short description what kind of biases are classified in this specific area of our map. You find that for all of the 15 biases. Another way to navigate through this map are filters. Filters show you some specific biases. For example, if you're looking for data interpretation biases, biases that influence the analysis of data you gathered from somewhere, then use this specific filter. Or you will find ambiguous biases, biases that can be both positively and negatively for your decision-making process. Or learning biases, biases that affect the learning processes of individuals. Or specific biases for team and group decisions, which happen in team and group decisions. And also the 5th filter, biases that happen in the interaction of 2 people, leading to misinterpretations of potential intentions, for example. This is one way of looking closer into this map of biases. Another one are the tours. We prepared 3 examples of chains of biases which are linked together and leading to a chain of flaws in your decision-making process. For example, let's take the avoiding pain tour. As you can see in the picture, the biases and the connection between the biases are highlighted, and by clicking on the connection, on the red connection, you see a description of this specific tour. You see the biases and how they are connected. In this example, a framing effect leads to loss aversion in decision making, a status quo bias in the evaluation and choice, neglect of probability, the implementation, experimenter effect also in the implementation phase, and finally a choice supportive bias in feedback and review. If you'd like to know more about the specific bias, just click and you see a detailed description. And also, for those who are interested in the theoretical background of the classification, you find the source for the classification on the managerial axis, the when, and the source of the classification on the psychological axis, the why such a bias appears. The reference for these two sources is mentioned, and also when was this bias first mentioned in research literature. This is one way to choose a bias and learn more about a specific bias. Another way is just clicking on a specific bias, for example, the illusion of explanatory depth, and as you can see again, the detailed description, and in this case, also a short video sequence. For some of the biases, we have prepared video sequences, examples of how this bias may appear in an interaction. Well, let's just have a look.
Hey, we need to talk about blockchain and what it means to our business model, right? We're not fintech, but blockchain is important for us. Do you know a thing or two about blockchain?
So you see, short interaction, an example that may show you how this bias may appear in your individual decision-making process. Is it in a group? Is it in strategic decision-making or in other kinds of decision-making? Another way to look for the biases is the search query, of course. You just enter what you're looking for and you see the biases linked to confirmation are highlighted. One is congruence bias and another, the one we were looking for, confirmation bias. It shows the classification. In this kind, it's confirming my view, so the combination of a verification bias in the information acquisition phase. Again, we click on it, we see the details and can learn more about this specific bias. You can do that for all biases you find here, for all 187 biases. And at the end, there's the list of the biases you have selected. For example, you choose the biases you have experienced or the biases you're curious about, you want to learn more about, and you will see all the biases you have selected here. If you'd like to export your selection for further use, for example, just click on the green button. It will generate your personalized map of biases. You can download it, and at the end of the day, you will see your choice with all the detailed descriptions and can use that as a basis to understand these biases and ideally to apply ideas how to mitigate these biases in your individual decision-making process. Well, that's how this website works. I hope you can enjoy it. You can learn a lot about these 187 cognitive biases, about the 15 ideal types. I hope this helps you to improve your future decision-making process by identifying what may go wrong and give you ideas of what you can do to reduce the impact on these biases. If you have any additional comments or questions, do not hesitate to contact us. And of course, we would appreciate if you share this bias map on your website, on your blog, or on social media. Thank you, and well, have fun.